Hello, all, and welcome to the final project of the semester. Today, we're going to do a episode for my YouTube channel, which is a motorcycle vlog, where I jump on my big bike and ride around to a national park or state, something like that. And I have the sound and the video down pretty nicely, where I can narrate the um, video as I'm riding, and it turns out pretty nice. Uh, Minimal motor noise, minimal wind noise. It's pretty remarkable how I've done this. I've been doing this for 4 years. So I really worked out some nice things for this. The second thing that I worked out was my 360 camera and how I assemble that, where I allow one camera to become mini, and I'll go into greater detail on that. And part two of this, which is going to be the setup. So this is the introduction here. I'm going to break this down into introduction, setup, and then the three levels of editing and introducing you to how I do things to get a really interesting, nice vlog off of a motorcycle at, in some cases, well over 50 miles. Okay, so that said, I'm just going to kind of run over the quick plan here. So we got the introduction going here. Next, we're going to set everything up, and I'm going to show you how I extract footage from the 360 camera and get everything all done and organized, which I think is a super point here. And often throughout the organizational side of things, I am able to also organize the story in my mind and able to kind of put everything together nicely where it makes sense. And then we're going to do our first pass of the editing. That'll be part three, second pass of the editing, part four, and so on. Here, first part of the editing, we'll be just doing a rough chop of things, and that'll make sense to you when I start showing you that. And then in part three, the organization of that and making sure that all the things that I have chopped out are finely tuned and that are also framed the way I want them. And if there's any effects that I want to put in there, that would be the time to do that. Then part four, after I've gotten all that kind of messing with the editing itself done, I'm going to add some music to it. I'm going to, at which time I'm going to make sure that my monologue and the music work nicely together. Then, as the last thing I do, I like to, since I have everything all done at that point, I like to go back and really relax and take my time with some color correction. The Insta360 cameras do an awfully good job of color correction right out of the gate. So there's very rarely a lot that needs to be done. But there's, depending upon the weather and where you came out of, there's always a little correction to be done. So it's kind of fun. At any rate, after that, I will render that out. We should have a finished product in, and then I'm going to go back through and reassemble all of these in a second overall edit, where will make a finished product out of all of the editing, kind of the how-to version of things, and attach the final product to the end, and that will be the entirety of the final project. All right, we will see you in part two. Okay, so here we are at part three, the setup of things. And just to explain a little bit here, the main story that we're telling is the making of my motovlog. It's not the motovlog itself, it's the how did we get to the end of it. So it's a little bit paradoxical. The first thing that I'm going to show you or that you'll be seeing is all the stuff that we did to get to the end. Then you'll see the final product here, which I will actually be using as a post on my YouTube page here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this and show you how I get her done. So let's come up over here and I don't guess you need a keyboard right now, do you? You can just see me neatly tucked out of the way here. So I'm going to call this V2 MGD2085 final project because V1 is a series of timelines of rehearsals. Let's go ahead and create that. And the first thing that I want to do here before I do anything is to make sure that we've got our project settings correct. These are the settings that we want to have all of our, uh, for example, all of our footage that we're bringing in. is 29.97 as a frame rate. We're going to be doing the 920 by 1080 HD here. Let's go through and make sure that we got everything else the way we like it here. This is supposed to be saved actually like this. But one of the little things that I've learned to double check before it's too late, because this is not easily changed later. Make sure that we have the feet per second right. Why do I use 30 foot a second? Because it's smoother. And when there's a lot of fast miles per hour on a motorcycle in this one, all of my motovlogs, for a matter of fact, so doing the filming a little faster keeps the blur down. Color management, we want to make sure that we're at Rec 709A. One of the things that we learned throughout the semester here was to have the 709A, because when it goes up to YouTube, for example, the colors are much more accurate, much more vibrant, especially if you're doing some color grading, which we won't be. Mostly it's going to be about a little bit of color correction. But the color that comes out of that Insta360 camera X3 of mine does a pretty nice job. Don't have any camera on to worry about. I'm pretty sure all that's good to go. Okay, I'm going to say I'm happy with that now, and we're going to come over here down and start getting things ready to go. I'm excited. So these are the two things. We're in our OBS file, where the OBS thing that I record on dumps everything to, and then I also put all of my assets up here in that file, just so I can see everything that's going on. I can make sure that I'm not making any mistakes or time wise or what. And I know where everything is. It's nice to know. So let's jump into here. This is all of my assets that I have accumulated here, and it's a folder that I use for everything. In fact, if we go back here to my folder here, what happens in this folder is it'll get a date when I'm done with this entire project. That date will be year, month, day in front of everything, so that when I put it away in the big storage, I can say, well, I knew about the time I did that. So, all right, sorry. Let's get back to our audio. We have three pieces of audio to talk about here. This first piece here is the, let me just turn them talking over me. This first piece of audio is the bit that you saw me with. In fact, I'll show that to you. Is the microphone on the motorcycle helmet that's just a little tiny DJI mic that records and doesn't do anything else, and does a good job of separating the motorcycle noise, the wind noise from my voice. And it just is for such an inexpensive microphone, it sounds smashingly good. I don't have any copy because it's tough to read a script while you're narrating off the back of a motorcycle at 60 miles an hour. So footage. There's three types of footage I have. The first is the camera on my motorcycle, which is an Insta360 X2. And the other camera I was using was a Sony ZV-E10, which also travels with me. It's just a nice little inexpensive Sony that does 4K really nicely, does color pretty darn well, and allows me to change and use all different kinds of APS-C lenses. So while we're here on this, let's talk about the 360 raw footage really quickly. So the Insta360 company has their own software to process their 360-degree information that comes off that camera. So, and this will make sense here in just a second. So let me open up what I see and how I turn one camera into as many cameras as I want, pretty much. So as you see here, I can move this picture around any way that I see fit. Here, I can zoom in, zoom out, move right, move left, move up, move down. Uh, and there's a few little uh, editing things. You can keyframe movement. For example, I started here and I wanted to move the camera slowly to the right, I can keyframe that down here. But the reality of that is it's not there yet. Their software is very robotic and does not ease in and ease out well. And it took me a long time to figure out what I'm about to show you now. So what I do to get around that is I start by uh, let's just move down that. Okay, so here's a nice straight road. We're going down here. So I figure out what's straight by with the nose of my motorcycle. Oh, see, nice and straight, and I get my horizon line where I want it and kind of zoom in and get everything where I want to go. And I remembered how many clicks I zoomed in from. Okay. So from this point of here, I know that that's the bottom of my windshield and the front of my 1, 2, 3 clicks in. Important thing to remember. It's also important thing to remember where my horizon line was. I'm at about a third, then 2/3 there. So standard photography kind of rule of thirds stuff. And then we come down here and we click on this and it comes up and asks me all kind of information. Yes, I want 1920. Yes, I want, here's that frame rate, 29.97 worth of my feet per second or frames per second here. H.264. So we got to make sure that all of our stuff is put up, and we're going to call this file name front. Okay. I'm not going to actually do it because it takes quite a while to render, and I use a different computer that's got some serious horsepower to do the rendering. The next thing I do is I create another render where I am back here. You see me at about the same horizon level. So we got about a third. Let's come down here a little bit. We want to come out here and be able to see kind of nicely everything we've got going here. And I wish that I would teach myself to spend a little bit more time on this. It's kind of a slog and not it's busy work, or it seems like it. And I should really spend some more time doing this better. At any rate, again, I come down here and I make a second render. And then I do the same thing. We come back up here. I do a right. So what I'm looking to do is I'm going to change this over to the right here, where we're facing right. And remember, I started from where my bearing was, and I can still see over here in a rule of a third. So I got my horizon line at about a third. I got my forward facing, but I still have almost direct 90-degree turn from this side. Then I do the same thing with the other side, and I create two more renders. Okay, so that comes back here looking like this with my 360 footage here. So I've got my one that looks at my face, one that looks front, the one that looks left, and the one that looks right. We'll highlight and bring that all down here. And let's talk about why that's important that we do this. Well, because we have the opportunity here now to highlight all these guys, and we're going to turn this into one clip. And we come up here, so we highlight everything, we right click on it, we come up here to create new multicam clip using selected clips. So what I'm telling this to do is to take all of these individual renders that I've done and tell DaVinci Resolve to look at them as different. So let's just call this final multicam. And now the next thing it wants to ask us is 29.97. Yes, that matches our master settings. Very important that these all match one another. Otherwise, it will absolutely not work. And the next it wants to, it says angle sync, not very well worded. Here, what it means is what methodology do you want these to be synced up by? You want them to be synced in by the fact that they're all came in at the same time. That if you had really four cameras, that you really did sync them all at the same time, or you had time code in. So if you had a time code generator on the method that you recorded your sound with, and it had the ability to do that, which I really don't. But what I do have is the ability to sync this by the sound that is recorded on that. So when I started all this, I'm in the garage. I have a little World War II clicker that they used in D-Day. Snap, snap, snap. I think it's got one right here. Got one that works. So that works really nicely for syncing up film, and this finds it really nicely. It's also something that I can reach in my pocket and just snap without having to clap my hands and take a and let go of something. Okay, so we're using sound to sync everything together. The next thing is what are we going to name each one of these things? So this will make more sense when I show it to you after the magic is done, but I've already named them face, front, left, right. So I'm just going to say clip name. It's already been done. Why mess around with it? And then I'm going to say create. Now, what it's doing here and thinking throughout its process is it's jamming all these things together like you're in a television studio now, put everything in its own little bin from the original stuff, and now we have this. So we have this is now looking at this as cameras, and throughout our editing process, we're just going to tell it as we go down the line, the timeline. Okay, I want to look forward right now. I want to look back at me because I'm talking. I want to point something out to my right or point something out to my left. Or one of the things I'm going to actually do in this is to demonstrate how well this actually worked. When I was filming this, I kind of built in that possibility of narrative. Okay, so what do we got next? We got the CBE10 footage. Now, I have already mastered the DJI footage or the DJI sound with this, just to be on the safe side because it was a little bit of a pain to do and required some time. I didn't want to have to run you guys through all of that. So, uh, yeah, let's not worry about that. I think we can put this back up here and this footage. I don't think, you never know. I don't want to mess anything. So, what do we have here? We have our music. We have our quiet time for, going forward and keeps me from talking. But we don't, I tend to run my mouth a lot and I want to be able to take that out. I repeat myself. Yeah, there's all kinds of good reasons for shutting up and skipping over things. And part of the storytelling is definitely not putting some of the things in. And then our main sound. So we have about everything we need to do our next step in the uh, setup process here. Boom. Okay, so I've highlighted everything. We're down in the main media pool folder, or tab, excuse me, and we're going to highlight that again, right click on it. Say create new timeline using selected clips and bins. We don't have to rename everything. Got number of video tracks, one. We don't have to anything to change here. And based on selected media, there's other ways of doing this. This just happens to be my flow that I think is the easiest to do. At which point in time, we're ready to go. So as we come over here, we can see that this has dumped all this stuff that I selected right into a timeline. I don't need any of this stuff here right now. What I need is to get rid of it and to come up to our media pool and let's start with our final multicam thing that's put together and kind of show you guys that and how that's going to work. So for now, I'm not going to sync the time to it just yet. I will in a minute, but what I kind of want to do is I want to show you how this is working. So let's make us some room to work here. Now we don't would like to see. Okay, so this is the output. This is the source, just as always as it is ever is. But rather than having the source from the media pool here, we're going to pull the source down here from the multicam. So tell it, come down here and say multicam, boom. Look at what happens here now. So with this source, I have the ability to do a couple of things. With this, I can bring in just the footage, I can bring in just the audio, or I can bring in both. I like to bring in both once I have everything all set down here. I'm going to match the end with my little DJI mic here, and I'm going to overwrite the stuff that comes out of here because it sounds awful. This is also a good time to get my stuff set up here. I like not having a stacked timeline and having things closely together as I possibly can. I like being able to see all the pictures that are associated with where I'm at. So that's this one here, not stacked, is at there. And here's this, it tells me that this is my current audio assigned that came out of the camera that we're looking at now. And then I came over here and I just turned it in so we only have to see one side, or there's and seeing both sides, because there will definitely be some time here where we want to really check in on this and be able to see it up close and personal. So as we go through here, once we've told the source window here that we are in multicam mode here, you can see it come up and it displays a little razor blade. I don't know if you can see that okay or not, but it means that when I click on this, it has now cut to the uh, forward, the way I filmed the front looking uh, camera on here. And I did not do as good a job as on there as I'd hoped. Okay, so just as a demonstration here, we can see me getting ready, starting to leave here, then leaving my garage. Okay, so just for a quick demo, I'm going to start that. Okay, I got my, let me bring up speed editor too, just see me. One of the nice things about the speed editor here is I can hit this middle button and I can advance it one frame at a time. That becomes more handy than you would believe. So there's me just starting to move. I'm going to call that the one where I want to slip over here to the front. Boom. Now we come back and play this here. We're here. You're looking at the source monitor, or we can look at it here. Yes. Oops, sorry. Over here. Look it on the big screen real quick. Okay, getting ready to go. Again, you got enough toolboxes here. Okay, so it's also important to point out, there we go, and we're off and running. And the one thing you see that nose of my fairing come into line there, that's going to be part of the second pass of fixing little problems like that. Okay, so let's come back over here. I hate. And come back and have here to our screen, say Control Z, because we have another job to do right now. We need to come back to Media Pool before we start chopping this up. What we have now is the sound that was produced by that little 360 camera, and it's atrocious. And so what we need to do is we need to bring this sound down here and hook everything together. So first off, what we need to do is we got to make ourselves a little working room. So when we come over here and we hit Option and Y, that highlights everything to the right of the playhead here. And let's just scoot this over. That'll leave us a little bit of room to work and up here, because we're going to need add a track here. It's another mono track. Make a little room here. And let's bring down our super duper sound out of our favorite microphone and back off a little bit. Make sure we have some room to work with. All right, so first thing we got to do, this is, I know for a fact that we could, under ordinary circumstances, we should have been able to highlight everything and then right click, and then tell it to auto align clips based on waveform. That's another right click option. Right click on this is it's great. Let's see if it works or not. I don't think it's okay. Auto sync failed. I'm not sure why it does that, but I'm glad that I get to show you how we do this by hand. So let's click off so we don't have anything highlighted, and then highlight our good track down below and kind of put it in the area over here where we can kind of see those two upbeats, and then let's zoom in on it. We're going to Alt Y again, highlight everything, and just scoot it back here to where we can see what's going on. I'm going to bring it over here, bring the playhead over here, and I'm going to turn the sound back up. And you can see up here in this picture what we're doing now. Okay, so that noise, I guess we could just play it. Let me just play this solo, this one here. This is the original one that the camera is listening. That's a little clicker. And then down here, we'll solo this one. That's what's being heard on my microphone that's on the side of my head. Okay, so let's highlight this guy, and we'll use our, let's zoom in here a little bit here and put our playhead right there just to the left of that peak, and use, maybe come in. This is the time to get this done really nice. Okay, so we're going to use our greater than or less than keys. They're also well marked on here. And one of the best things ever in the history of video editing is the ability to nudge. I'm just nudging this left to get these two peaks to line up here. And they do line up very nicely. So now let's go back and listen to both of these tracks at the same time. We're just listening to everything. You can't hardly tell, but there is another check that I always do here as I come down here and let's find out where I'm talking. Bring up the big screen.
Resolve 18.
Let's watch.
And today I'm going to take you on my other favorite thing. I'm going to go for a little ride. I got class here this Monday morning.
Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's come back down here and solo our second track that we've added and look at it again.
And so I'm going to narrate my little ride all the way to school.
Make sure I don't have any Kung Fu theater going on where my mouth is out of sync with the track. There's no better tool for figuring that out than the human eye and a set of good studio monitors for figuring that out. That was the thing that doomed China to never being a full-on player until recently in the movie industry. Okay, so that done, I'm going to leave all this for now, and I'm going to scoot these in on this and the front and rear to that lock the snap to our other soundtrack here. I'm going to hit the Alt option, highlight this soundtrack, delete it, move this one up, boom. And then the next thing we got to do is we got to highlight them both, hit Control, right click again, and come down here and say link these tracks. So we now have, you can tell by the little chain link that's down on here, we now have these guys linked together, and everything should be pretty Jake for getting us started here. I'm going to call this the end of this section of this because it came out so well and I don't want to mess it up by messing up mine. So I'm going to end this part of the recording here and start a new one where we start chopping things up. Okay, we're back here with the first pass. What we're going to do is we're going to go through our timeline here, and we're going to get things, our camera pointing the directions we wanted to do, and get our first rough edits done here. So right now we're looking at the timeline as a whole, and my plan is to show you 3 or 4 cuts that are the main cuts that I will be making to get the rest of things chopped up. I don't think that it would appropriate to show you the next 2 hours of work I'm going to have to do on this to get it up to snuff. So let's start by me in the garage here. And then I'm going to go down the street and do our first voice cut that syncs with our voice and demonstrate how cool it is to have all of our different shots sync together with some good sound. And then we're going to do a cut which takes some footage out of things, but it comes back into another angle. So it looks really natural, even though it's removing media. It's still a great looking cut. It doesn't require any transitions or time passing, or that's just kind of the way it goes. I was lucky enough to have sound, and then I'm going to show you the last of the things, which is putting together the speed ramp. At least my version of doing the speed ramp, and I think it was pretty effective here of showing some passage of time and covering a lot of road pretty well. Okay, so first cut, first of 4. We're in the garage here. We're getting ready to go. Motorcycle started. Watch that clutch handle get let out here. Twice we're going to have a look for that. This means I'm getting ready to go. See, the minute that lever comes out, I start moving. That's a great place to cut because it's going to sync up with that other camera angle of ours later on our second or third pass when we install that. So let's come over here and change this to looking out front. And I'm going to turn the sound off. Dog shuttle to move ahead. So as one of the other things that we have to refine in other passes, you see this fairing that pops out around here. That's just part of a turn. And I didn't catch that when I did the initial render of that angle of things, but it's still very easily fixable. No problem. Okay, so we're coming up here to our first voice cut. So let's zoom in on our sound down here in the bottom rung and turn things back on.
All right, Kara.
Okay, so the trick here is to get this timed out about right, where we can come here and go and look back at me because I start talking here, so it only makes sense that you're looking at me. And then we'll play it.
All right, getting out of the neighborhood here.
Okay, so the cool thing about this here is as long as this is still in normal mode, I can come over here with my mouse or my playhead, and I can change where this comes in and comes out. It's called a slide, and it works pretty nicely. So if I came in too late,
all right, getting out of the.
if I came in too early, for example, and I'm just riding along.
All right.
See, that doesn't look great. But if I came over here and moved it over a little bit, you kind of have that half a breath.
All right, getting out of.
That's perfect. Okay, so let's move on to stoplight. So I'm sitting here, the band pulls up, and what I want to do is look forward while I leave the stoplight here. I kind of checking the sides a little bit, and then I go. So second I face back forwards, I'm looking forward. It only makes sense that I would go ahead and go. See how that looks. Bad. Excuse me. Losing my voice here. Forgot to check the render cache earlier and put it in smart mode. We haven't done anything complicated, but never hurts to have that going. Okay, so in a couple of seconds,
So there,
I'm going to start talking again. So I want to do the same thing and put it back on me. Then we'll play it.
so there's going to be a part of this ride that's just long and
Okay.
and fast.
So what I need to do now is there's going to be some upcoming stuff that talks about the um, the multi-camera stuff, and I talk about that at great length here after this, and I even demonstrate it nicely. So I want to take that out of the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on pause for right now, and I'm going to go through here and use the markers to mark my in and out, then come back in and show you guys just to be kind of efficient. Okay, so I got these two marks here. Let me put for it. I got these two markers put in here at where I want to do this cut. So this is a through cut. So I need to cut in order to keep the sound synced up with everything. I need to hit the B key. And what it's going to do is it's going to cut through the video and through the sound. And the B key does that because I programmed it to do that. Ordinarily, it would take a control B or something along those lines. And there's enough of these kind of cuts done that it was worth doing the keyboard modification. B goes all the way through that. And we come down here to honor about that, and it did snap into place here. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to face forward here. Okay. Then we're going to come up to the stoplight. Now I'm facing forward, but if it comes off there, this hasn't cut the sound yet. So let's hit the B key. Right, and that is now uh, I don't want to play this just because it takes so long. But now coming into this, because we're facing forward coming into this, and when we come out of it, we're facing towards me. When we come out of it, we're towards head down the road. Stoplight. Okay, so get done. Okay, so here's the thing. We just simply highlight these two, right click, come up, and we can say ripple cut or ripple delete. Either way, boom. That's all there is to it. So we now have the sound. Let's play it. And the change done. Really slick.
Graphics in here, and the I think that's about it.
So maybe there's let's fix that a little bit and maybe slide that over. Sometimes you have the snapping off.
So I think that's about it.
Let's move that back.
That'll be cool. So I think that's about it.
I think I'm okay with that. Let's get rid of it. Ripple cut. Play it just to make sure.
Fix in here, and the
nope. One more thing we got to get rid of. Control. Got to move this one back. Say that again.
Things like that towards the end. Then the third pass is just we'll have some nice graphics in here, and the we'll also have some multi-cameras.
Okay, it's a little not the way I like it. Let's cut it out one more.
Towards the end. Then the third pass is just, we'll have some nice graphics in here. So I think that's about it here. I guess we could.
Okay, one more try on that just to see if we can get it to shape up a little bit.
Music, things like that. So I think that's about it here. Other than to say it's
Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, so I just kind of quickly repeated the first of the cuts, excuse me, that we did beforehand. And let me just play that for you. Come up to the stoplight. And
would have hoped for in some spots, but I got lucky and I found some really good information in others. Especially good version of that. I love it when people are sitting like this gentleman to my right here, wondering who I'm talking to. Pretty sure I'm gone crazy in his mind.
okay, so this is going to be one more of those cuts here where I'm just sitting here at the stoplight for a long time. So get done talking. Let's get rid of some of this. First, let's do a through cut all the way through it. Blade it through. And a motorcycle is going to pass by me here. So right as that motorcycle pulls in front of me, let's move it to the front camera. Blade it through. Blade it, give it a ripple delete. Yeah, that looks.
Gone crazy in his mind.
I like the little unfinished look of the motorcycle going by there.
All right.
We're off. We got some more stuff to fix.
So couldn't ask for a much nicer day for shooting this. It's Monday the 10th, I
Okay,
think.
so the next thing that comes about here, and I'm just going to get to it, and rather than making you watch all this stuff, is we're going to come down here to where okay, I'm coming up to there.
Before I go to school, that was nice of them. All the nice weather, and I'm super.
Okay, so I'm going to split this in between here.
Yeah, all the nice weather, and I'm.
Okay, so this is. Here's me being a smart ass.
And I'm super grateful that the city of Loveland has arranged for me to stop at every stoplight in town before I go to school. That was nice of them. All right, so let's start.
Okay, so because I've seen this 1,000 times, we're going to put this back on me, and then we're going to start talking about how we can narrate our way through a kind of a demonstration of using the the multiple cameras here, the different views, the angles. I'm overjoyed to show this to you. I really am.
All right, so let's do our multi-camera demonstration right now. This is a great time to do that. So let's look back at me.
Okay, so.
All right.
maybe I'm not liking where that cut is right there. So I can bring my cursor over top of this cut, and I can come on, right click on it, they delete the through edit.
All right, so let's
and cut the sound down here because I'm sure that's obnoxious.
All right, so let's do our multi-camera demonstration right now. This is a great time to do that. So let's look back at me.
Okay, so that just gave us the command to look back at me. And I'm going to really work with the timing of this because I kind of did a good job while I was narrating this while writing.
So let's look back at me.
Boom. See, I think that could come back a little faster. So let's slide that a touch. Replay that.
Let's look back at me.
Boom. Okay.
Then let's switch over to our right-hand view.
We make the point there. Back to.
And over to the left-hand view. Going that way. And then back forward. And then back forward. Then I'll just do a circle while I'm here at the stoplight again. This is the last one in Loveland, so they can't do any more damage to me today.
Okay, so this is the second or third light I come upon that turns green just as I pull up to it.
Ah.
So I'm going to put that on me real quick and then move it over here.
Yeah.
That didn't. Through edit. Back in the front. There we go. Play it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cute. So here's the spot. As soon as I come over the line here, this is where things get a little tricky. And so what we got to set up here is three separate cuts. We're going to turn these three separate cuts into our kind of poor man's speed ramping here. So between here and school in Larimer County, it's just super high wind, nothing but road, and not really worth narrating. So I'm going to start here with the through cut. Zip along. Back off on this. Let's go to the empty, the end of it. Now, when I come out of this, I actually narrate the time compression.
Okay, time compression off.
Okay, so that is where we're going to end it. Let's give us a little bit of room to run there and do a screw cut all the way on that. And then bounce out a little bit and see where our cuts are. We're going to need to divide these into 3 the 2 bookends smaller. Because what's going to happen here is I'm going to make one over here, and I'm going to make one over here of approximately the same size. And then we're going to go through and we're going to pick one of these guys here, and we're going to hit Control R. And that makes us a speed change. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. Change this from 1,100% to the change speed over to 800. And then do the same thing, this one over here, Control R, 800%, change speed. Then Control R here. And just because I played around with this quite a bit, I found that when I put this up to like 2,400%, it made for a really nice. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, hang on. Okay, so we got to get the sound to match up now. Just on where it's got one side pointing, we'll let that snap to the video. Side pointing, you can see where it just grabs the corner there. And I do want to go look at this guy here real quick and zoom in on him. Move down and see where we're at as far as the thing goes. So we're at 2,700%. I don't think we need to be going quite that. You know what? Let's just play it in a minute and see if that works out. Then let's get this one to line up. Click. Then here's the quick and simple, dirty ways to do it. Ripple, delete. Ripple, delete. Boom. And another ripple, delete. So that kind of all went together nicely. Let's play it and see if balanced.
And here comes the
So the first thing I got to do is I got a little bit of work to do in the sound for the middle one.
okay, time compression off. Here we are at the Larimer campus.
Okay, not bad. Let's come over here in the middle. Zoom in on that.
Here comes the
And let's see if it'll let me do a slide here. Didn't look like it's going to let me do. It looks like I cut my hand off. So I'll have to catch that on the other side here. I'm going to drop the volume on the.
And here comes the.
Yeah. So this is exactly the part where we would want to, and I'll catch this on the other side of this, but this is the part there where I want to put in some just silent running. I don't want my voice in here in the time shift. The other thing here is that we want to do is we want to edit out some of that there. Let's move this over here. About right. And give it an all the way through. Triple cut.
Okay, time compression off.
Looking good here. That evened up a little bit. And I'm going to say that's a pretty good first all the way through here. I'm going to go through and doll this up a little bit here and get some things cleaned up. And then we're going to go through and make a couple of edits that make our bearing and the other things go away. We're going to fix some of the sound problems I've got here with inserting some new sound in its place. It doesn't have speed in it. And I'm going to just give it a once over, and then we'll talk about that. Okay, thanks for hanging in there with me, and we'll see you in, what are we on, part 4 already? Part 4. All right, this is part 4, and we're going to work on the second phase or the second pass of getting through here. So what does that mean? That means that I'm going to add the sound and the B-roll for this, then the sound down here to cover up some of my mistakes. I've been through, here, let me just bring this all over here. And so I'm going to add the B-roll for this part where I do the initial little interview before I take off out of here. And I'm going to add some blank motorcycle and wind noise sound down here for the speed ramping thing that we were doing. And I've been through everything else, and I found that I'm really fond of how things are edited together here. And now I'm going to have to go through and wherever there's a blue marker, there is some kind of some zooming problem that needs to be taken care of with um, that clip. And so let's just go over here to this clip, like right now. And we're wheeling it out of the driveway here. And so, actually, I could probably stand to adjust that a little bit. All right. So, anyway, here, let me go up here and check the playback. Render cache is on smart. Render cache being on smart means that it renders itself as it goes. And if you're just sitting there idle, then it gets every little other bit of rendering done so the whole thing reacts better without having to make optimized media or anything like that. There's nothing real complicated here, so we should be able to be through easily with that. So, okay. That said, let's go down here. And that's probably the worst part right there. So let's highlight this clip, come up to our inspector, and we're over here on the transform stage of things here. And let's zoom in on things touch. And that's just out of the way where I can still see it down there in the corner. Reason I do that is because it's my little marker where there's another one where I could come in. I could probably come into 1.5. Let's do that. 1.5 times zoom. Okay, so we're completely out of the clear, and we are at 1038 at the worst possible part. 1 minute 38 seconds. So let's spin this back to the beginning here. And here's another little side trick. Let me bring up my editor here too. So don't forget that I can advance this by one frame at a time. I can also advance it 1 frame at a time using my right and left arrows. Think. Got it. There we go. Okay, so that for sure is the first frame of that. Now at 1.6, it's a little different, but nobody's really going to know the difference. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that first diamond there. Boom. That is my first keyframe on the first frame of this clip. Boom, done. So let's go ahead and advance down here. Zoomity zoom. So about 139 or thereabouts, I'm going to set a second keyframe. And then I'm going to move down here, and I happen to know that here on out, 1.2 keeps 1.25 keeps everything else out of the way on this particular clip. Maybe I'll forward just a little bit and then drop one more keyframe. Go. We might have to take a look at these. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I'm in here, and I'm going to, excuse me, I got to go back here. Something got messed up, and I got to just double check that it's done correctly. So I'm going to do it again. Control Z. Okay, right there is, that means that there's nothing happening. But now we know all the math for it, so to start off with, on our first one, be 1.6. Boom, and we're going to start that, our first keyframe on our first frame of that clip. We're going to roll down to 0.39. We're going to put our second keyframe in because we want to start ramping this down. 1.25. And when we change that, we got ourselves a keyframe. We're back and ready to. So let's go ahead and just play this back real quick. I want to
All right.
okay, that happened a little sooner than I was hoping for. Let's move this back a touch.
Letter. All right.
Okay, so actually right there where that is right now is where I want to place that cut. There we go. Touch. There we go. That's going to work out great. And it looks like we got away with no more bearing in the way simply by keyframing a little bit of zooming.
All right, getting out of the neighborhood here.
Very nice. Okay, so we can highlight this one. We can call that one taken care of. What's happening down here? Yeah, there's a little bit of a bearing in there. Okay, so let's come over here and measure it. That's probably the worst one right there. That's the outside of my lower right-hand fairing. Let's bring our inspector in. And let's try bringing that up to about 1.4. Maybe 1.3. All right, well, let's look around up the way. Okay, I'm all right with 1.3. And I know that there was a bunch of other little fairing sightings on the way down here. So I'm not going to keyframe any of that. I'm going to leave that right there, and we're going to get rid of that guy too. Okay, so that's two of them. Get the idea. One with the keyframes, one without the keyframes. The next thing on our to-do list down here is we need to come over here and put that in the middle. We need to zoom in on this guy, maybe zoom in. And you see the guys here with the little clocks by them? That means that's the ones that we've altered the speed of the clip. So let's go up to the media pool, things that we've already brought in. See where I put it says road film master sound. I want to bring that down here. Just kind of put that somewhere like that. And I want to bring this over here to the front. And I want to solo this just to see what it sounds like if it's going to work here for us. Okay, so the sound is not sped up. Now, what I can do to give it more of a timely sound here is I think I can increase its pitch a little bit. So let's play around with that. So we're here with it, with the clip that I want to replace the other really windy and terrible stuff with this clip that's pretty much straight across. And we've got our pitch going here. Let's just kind of play with it for a second and see if we can get some good sound. Check, check, check. Okay, I kind of like that. So we have definitely gotten that to come up a touch. So let's put this here on that edit point. And then come over here and put that on this edit point. And let's hold our control key down and highlight all 4 of those and hit the delete key. Slide this one up into place here. Roll it back a touch and take the solo off. Maybe even one more up. Okay, maybe even one more up. So, I mean, obviously, if we played the sound at plus 20, what I've set that middle one at 2,700%. That's not going to work, obviously, but playing it a little bit up, just pitching it up to a touch, really does kind of work. Touch.
Okay, time compression off. Here we are at the Larimer campus.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm all good with that. So, what's the next thing we got to do here? First, we can get rid of this extra track here. And we can always do this by coming down and say delete empty tracks. It's a good idea to keep your working space. Working space is valuable here. As a matter of fact, as a piece of commentary, the one thing that Adobe does better than anything else uh, on the editors here is that you can literally take Adobe apart, the Premiere Pro, and put little bits and pieces of it all over. In fact, this workstation was originally designed around Premiere Pro so that I could like have all my little files and stuff over here on one side and my timeline all the way down across both monitors on the bottom. It was pretty cool. I wished, and I'm sure everybody else has cried about that too, that they could get that going along with DaVinci. Okay, so we're back here to an Alt Y. And what we're doing, why are we doing that? Why? Because we're moving it over a little bit. And we're moving it over a little bit because we have to match a clip. The clip that we're going to match is the Sony camera intro. So I label what camera I'm using in the pack with the master sound. And so got to stretch things out a little bit. Bring them up. Got over here. And let's click anywhere off so we can click on here, zoom in, and get busy getting our sound and our video synced to the sound and video we've just been working on. So let's come over here and nudge this over. And use our, whoops. Use our control head here to get a good measurement on things. And okay, that looks pretty good. I think that we'll do our usual next test, which is hit and play. And give it the Kung Fu movie test to see if my mouth matches the words being played.
Okay, and welcome back to a special edition of the Moto Muttley channel.
That looks pretty good. Now let's solo out the new track. Or let's get rid of the new track. So we're going to come down here and say Alt. Click. Do that. that was a that I want to click off. Highlight that one, delete that, and we are now at track down a little bit here. See what I mean about that? It was handy to have all that space at work with. Let's bring this over here and zoom in again. Spend a lot of time zooming in. And then let's bring this here up. Triple delete to bring everything to 0. Now let's give this a double check here. Make sure that then after we make sure that we're good to go, we're going to lock everything in place.
Okay, and welcome back to a special edition of the Moto Muttley channel.
Okay,
This episode is dedicated to my
volume.
MGD 2085
So peaking at 10.
video independent study class. I've been lucky enough to do a class of my own making. I get to do a little bit of everything camera work.
The big screen
editing
looks
in my
pretty
favorite
good,
software,
guys.
which is DaVinci Resolve 18. And today I'm going to take you on my other favorite thing. I'm going to go for a little ride. I got class here this Monday morning. And so
Okay,
I'm
so
going to
the true test of things here is let's jump out of that, bring this back down here, move over to the tail end of this. So that's off screen. So I want to. How does that look? Let's play it.
All right.
Camera on the top there. Very cool. Never get in gear. I could stand to bring that over to that very nicely there. One more time. No, honestly, I liked it a little bit better with the bike moving. Touch. Yeah, so I got motion leaving and motion coming out of that cut. All right, very nice, very classy. I'm digging that. Let's come over here and zoom in a little bit, things, and get our tails trimmed up better.
Okay.
Breathing in, breathing out. Okay, that seems like a pretty good space to start that off. So let's get trimmed up to that point. Then triple delete. We are good to go. Let's start it off.
Okay, and welcome back to a special edition.
Still stand to come in a touch.
Okay.
See how that looks. That one. That one. You know what I love about this is it's not delicate. It just snaps right to it. It's the other. I've never seen a program that does the snap thing quite as out of here. Look at it as a whole and give it a shot.
Okay, and welcome back to a special edition. Okay, and welcome back to a special edition of the Moto Muttley channel. This episode is dedicated to my MGD 2085 video independent study class.
Okay, so here's another trick. I want to do a couple of things here. I want to pop this down onto that one because I want to bring just a little tiny bit in like that.
Okay, and welcome back.
Be a little too much. Let's.
Okay, and welcome back to a special
Further.
edition of. Okay, and welcome back to a.
Okay, that looks great. So what do we got to do here? What's next? Well, what's next for us? Okay, we got our sound in, got the sound tweaked. We got the demonstration of both versions of that. Though I have many other little things to correct off through all this, the same little Zoom problems. I guess the last thing what we should think about doing is maybe coming in down here and giving this a proper closeout. Because what's going to come next here, even though this is only the second pass, is I want to put the graphics in. Do I want to put the graphics in yet? No, I'll put the graphics in when I put everything else together. Let's get a good read on how long or short this thing really is right now. So that on the pass 3, we'll do the music, we'll do the sound editing, and then we'll do the pick a couple of hero shots, and we'll go through and see if there's any color correction that needs to be done. To my eye, not so much, but we'll see. So let's get over here, zoom in on that. So what happens here?
There.
I'm smiling, rolling in. Right after the kickstand goes down, I think that's a pretty good place for this to call it a day. We'll zoom our. And then one more thing that we need to check here on the big screen. And what we're looking for is called a dropped frame. We need to see my mouth moving at the end after all of our edits and all of our screwing around. Let's bring this in.
All right. Again, thanks to everybody who helped me with this. And we'll see you in the next one, if there is one. Hopefully there is. All right. Take care.
Okay, looks pretty good to me. That may be a frame off, but I don't think we dropped enough frames for anybody to see me whilst riding the motorcycle here. And I can tell by the background here that I could stand to wipe the bugs off that lens here. So we're looking pretty good. And we're going to call that our fine work for pass 2. And that's that for right now. I'm going to get all the other little nonsense done for us, and we'll jump into our third pass and get our music in here, get our colors corrected, and get our final graphics in. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. All right, looks like we are on the last pass here, the third pass, and mostly that's going to be about we're adding a little music, getting the music to work with our dialogue, and going into Fairlight and just doing some light editing and with the compressor and the limiter, and making sure that um, we get the music equalized out, and just so that we give good priority to our dialogue and motorcycle noise. Of course, got to have that, right? So, and then after that, I'm going to go uh, into the color correction tab here, and see if we can make anything better. Pretty honestly, it doesn't look too bad the way it is. So, but anyway, we've got a couple of white cars and things like that we can try out, and just see if we are out of here. Like these white stripes here are a great, they're white. They're a good thing to give it a try to. All right, so let's get going here. Come on over here to our media pool. Let's drag down our music. Maybe be able to have a look at our music's profile here. Let's bring this over. Hit our option Y. Why? Because we need to move. Let's solo this music here. What it's all about. I remember this was a really nice calming piece. One of the reasons I chose it is you can go into on your studio page on the on YouTube, and there's a place to download music from. And what I like to do is I like to search for music by duration, and then go and pick something out there that's fitting. That way I don't have to do the horrifying job of having to patchwork things together. I really don't like that. And if you got a good ear, or if you spent time in a sound studio like I have, pick it up, and it's one of those things that's just a burr under your saddle and just bothers you forever. So let's hear and see what we got going. A pretty space age here. Okay, so I like the way that starts. Let's do that. Maybe let's zoom in before we. That down. 8, and I think we got a good. All right, let's see how this sounds. Not soloed into the rest of ours.
Muttley channel. This episode is dedicated to my
Okay, so on audio 1 here,
MGD 2085 video independent.
I kind of want to mute this. Got some.
Study class. I've been lucky enough to do a class of my own making. I get to do a little bit of everything.
All right, so what I need to do here, right about here, I need to come down and I need to hit my option key, come down to this guy here, and put a couple of keyframes in, because we need to raise that a little bit so that we.
Let's get it going here. Do my Mr. Rogers program here and get all my act together. Change my little.
We compare this to over here.
Just to orient you, I live in Loveland, and This is right on the cusp.
Peaking a little high through on that. Let's drop this down a touch.
Cusp of Loveland and Fort Collins. And so, what are we going to do in class here for our final project? Well,
Trying to get this to peak around negative.
I feel like it should be a combination of all the things that I've learned.
Okay, let's come over here.
And so I'm going to narrate my little ride all the way to school and tell you about all the things that we're going to do in this little demonstration video.
Back over here. Raise this a touch.
Independent study class. I've been lucky enough to do a class of my own making. I get to do a little bit of
More.
everything camera work, editing in my favorite software, which is DaVinci Resolve 18.
Okay, I'm liking that. I want to save this real quick before something weird happens here. Heaven knows, right? Then I want to come down here and I want to see how this plays.
And today I'm going to take you on my other favorite thing. I'm going to go for a little ride. I got class here this Monday morning, and so I'm going to narrate my little ride all the way to school and tell you about all the things that we're going to do in this little demonstration video as my final project. Okay, I guess I better get out of here. Let's get it going here. Do my Mr. Rogers.
Still a little overpowering. Something I learned once, somebody said, if you think it's right, drop it a little bit more. Where's that background music go?
Rogers program here, get all my act together. Change my little cardigan sweater.
We'll only know after this is, we'll only really know after I've rendered this out and added the rest of the stuff to it.
All right.
Come back in over here.
Study class. I've been lucky enough to do a class of my own making. I get to do a little bit
Want to try
of everything camera work, editing in my favorite software, which is DaVinci Resolve 18. And today I'm going to take you on my other favorite thing. I'm going to go for a little ride. I got class here this Monday morning, and so I'm going to narrate my little ride all the way to school and tell you about all the things that we're going to do in this.
Okay, so I like that.
All right, getting out of the neighborhood here. Just to orient you, I live in Loveland, and
Try to bring that up just about.
This is right on the cusp of Loveland and Fort Collins.
And I like it. Okay, so there's that part of this. Let me finish it off here. Bring this in. Then I'm going to mark this out a little more, and let's play.
All right. Again, thanks to everybody who helped me with this. And we'll see you in the next one. If there is one. Hopefully there is. All right. Take care. See if I can not get hit by this dump truck behind me. All right, so that's the semester, guys. Say my goodbyes while I'm weaving through the parking lot here.
Okay, so let's come over here. Get on that one and cut that down through there a little bit. There. And hold our control button down and right click and put 6 frames on that. Then raise the volume of that a little, just through the speed track. Yeah, that's kind of working out. Let's take our there.
Okay, time compression off. Here we are at the Larimer campus. See if I can not get hit by this dump truck behind me. All right, so that's the semester, guys. Save my goodbyes while I'm weaving through the parking lot here. So, been a great semester. I really appreciate everybody's time. I know that
Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's pop over into Fairlight here. And let's twirl this up because we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way here. Let's first get it whittled down so we can see what we're doing. So where are we at? We're on audio 1 here. Audio 2 apparently stereo. I'm liking that. So what do we want to do with audio 1? We want to come over here to dynamics. And let's maybe bring off the screen so a lot of yappity going
project.
on. Let's click on
Well,
the compressor.
I feel like it should be a combination of all the things that I've learned as much as possible. I mean, there are some stuff that just won't fit in, obviously, but we'll definitely have some music with things and some nice sound editing. Unfortunately, the music won't be raw, so there won't be much sound editing. But I won't be using any of the slick Crumple Pop software. I'll be actually doing the editing for the motorcycle sound and wind noise isolation by hand. I think. We'll see if I can get that to work. Obviously, it's a beautiful day out, and my camera thinks so too. But we'll let the color portion, the color tab in Resolve, decide how all that looks. We will. What else will we do? We're gonna try to edit out all the ums and the performance errors that I have in there, and we're going to do some speed ramping stuff. Oops. So there's going to be a part of this ride that's just long and fast, so it's not really good for doing any narration. I mean, I can narrate up to.
Here, let's put the stop on that for a second. We're edited as we can get there. So let's also go over here to second track, which is a stereo track here, and knock on our EQ. And let's get a couple. First off, let's get all of our bands correctly here. So I was once told that nothing good happens under 40 dB. So there's that. And then between 1 and 2 here, we're thought that was oh, let's try turning it on first. Duh. All right, that's a good boy. All right, so between 1 and 2K here, kilohertz. Let's drop this down because that's where most of our monologue happens at. Let's drop this down. Touch. That's only the real thing here. But let's drag this off to a minute and see, play around with things a little bit and just see how sounds. If there's any other things that now's the time to get some weird stuff out of here if we're going to get it out.
60 miles an hour with my little DJI microphone. It's not hooked to anything, it's just recording, I hope. So that said, what else are we going to do? We're going to do some nice, on our first pass, we're going to make sure we got all of our cuts nicely done, all of our speed tricks nicely done. And then we're going to go back through and refine things, music, things like that, towards the end. I think that's about it.
Maybe we drop that volume. Okay, so simple enough. That's our equalizer done, and that's our compression and our limiter done. So let's call that good, and let's get into the last thing that's kind of the job here. So before we get into this, let's get back into this and come down here so we get a full view of things. And what we need to do is we need to pick out the types of shots we have. So the first shot is facing forward on the motorcycle, headed kind of into the sun. I think that this, based on the sun, this was done between like 12 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's our sun over there on top. So we're kind of riding into the sun. Then so let's call this, come over here to this one. Let's call this guy, come up here to clip color, right click, clip color. We'll just call him orange. This is riding facing into the sun. We'll call this one yellow. Oh, and this one facing away from the sun. Facing away from this forward. All this lime facing away from the sun into the face. And all that teal. Okay, so now we have our 4 things marked that are the most common throughout here. So let's have a look and see what's really going on with this guy here. Let's come off of that. Obviously, we're not going to be able to correct that much, but can come over a little bit. Got here. We got a white car. So we're here on our color wheels. This is our cheater eyedropper here. This doesn't always work very great, but when you look up here and you see that all those numbers are very close to 255 across the board there on that, we click on this. That's going to tell you that when that white is so close to 255, 255, 255, all the way across here, we're already looking at a pretty good, um, well balanced, well corrected image here. Let's move on over here to facing into the sun with our face here. And what else do we got? Well, we got white on the ground here, so let's try our thing again and see how. Try that one. Control Alt delete it. Pick it up. 239, 237, 230. Let's look at the sky. Let's look at the face. There's before. There's after. Other than the dirtiness in my lens that I needed to take care of, I see no appreciable difference. So I'm going to leave those alone. Let's come down here and look at writing into the facing into that. We can do this again here. Again, pretty close across. I saw the sky change a touch. Okay, I'm going to leave that one hero up. Color, flip color. That out of there. So what are we left with? We're left with this one little guy here, green, and we did get a little clip creation out of that. So, just to be accurate, go over to our light box here. Where are we? We're green, we're facing forward, so let's highlight everybody else that's facing forward. Control, 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 control. All this is pretty much facing you. Got if it's dark on my face, I'm going to come back over here and hit my middle mouse button. Place existing grade, yes. And for better or for worst, we have what it thinks is the ideal grade here. Okay, so let's hit Lightbox again, and we'll come over here. And let's fish around and see if. Okay, let's see how this works. Pick up our dropper. 250, 244, 241. This is very, very close and would not make an appreciable difference. According to it, just this is, if nothing else, this is picking up the eyedropper and scanning something, and how close something is to white will tell you how close the rest of everything is. And so I'm really quite liking it. There's not much, like I said in the beginning, there's not a lot I can really do with this camera because it's just been so good for me. Let's look at this, and I don't. There's no white in here, so I could fool around with this a little bit. But let's look on the big screen and see how my skin tone is. See, there's white paper towels. There's reflections, but those never work. Um, I could. Let's bring the lift up a little bit. See how. Maybe bring the gain down just a touch. just a teeny touch. And maybe try and create a little bit of contrast. And let's look at the vector scope here. See where if I can do anything. Got a lot of red and stuff. See if I can do anything lightening out my. All right, let's have a look. Okay, I added a little blue to it and brought the contrast in, so that does look a little better. My skin tone looks pretty well me, being the former redhead that I am. I think that we are ready to move on to next stage here, kids. So let's go back to our edit tab, and we're going to need to come over here to the media storage. Come up here and over to our file. Let's look into our graphics here. Oh no. Is in there. Okay, I'm going to pause this and put our graphics in where they belong. I'll be right back. Okay, so we got our graphics back in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab both of these and drag them down in the main screen, which will give us access to them in here. So we get to use one of my favorite tricks now. So this is my opener, my logo, and my opening graphics that I've been using on all of my Moto Muttley motorcycle vlog videos for a while. So I get to also come over here and point out that we're going to do this with a smart insert button. So I've highlighted this. I put my cursor right in the very front of everything, and I simply say smart insert. And there it goes. Then go over here to the end.
All right.
That snaps up. I highlight my logo sting for the end, smart insert. Or I could have used the append button, but I like smart insert. And both of these already have all of their sound to them and what have you. So we are, for better or for worse, looking at a pretty finished product here. So we basically only have to do one last thing. That's to go over here. First off, you don't ever want to miss a mistake like this. Save this project just to be on the safe side. Then come over here. I double save things by exporting the projects over to that main file that I showed you guys in the beginning of all this. So I'm going to say this is third pass. Complete. We'll say save to that. Since all the assets for that are in that one file, so I can go find it, whatever it needs. And now we're going to go down here to deliver. And what are we going to call this? Where do we want to put it first off? Let's put it on the desktop, just so we know where it's at for now. Let's click on the MGD 2085 pre-done deal here. So it puts it on the desktop. It's 1920 by 1080. Frame rate's 29.97. We are at $100,000 kilobits a second for the encoding profile and all that good stuff. Just super high bit rate for rendering this out. Takes a little longer, but it really works out. What do we want to put this in? I'm going to leave it in QuickTime because it's a little more stable. And we're going to call this MGD 2085 final render. All right, I'm excited. Let's add this to the queue. This is going to take a while. Let's make sure that we're rendering everything in the timeline here. We can see by the circles around everything but that has been color corrected. So I think we're looking pretty good here. Let's render it and see how it turns out. And I'm just going to pause this for a minute while it's doing its rendering, get it started here, doing its thing. And I'll be back when it's done to have a quick look at it. And we're back and we're just finishing up here. So the proof is in the pudding, and what I like to do is I like to go and drop all this out of the way. And here is my final render. Right, so let me bring this over here in front. So what we're checking for here now is how's the quality on things? Do I have any frame drop on the sound transfer? So let me just go ahead and play the first little bit of this here.
Okay, and welcome back to a special edition of the Moto Muttley channel. This episode is dedicated to my MGD 2085 video independent study class.
For some reason,
I've been lucky enough to do a class of my own making. I get to do a little bit of everything camera work, editing in my favorite software, which is DaVinci Resolve.
All right, getting out of the neighborhood here. Just to orient you, I live in Loveland, and this is right on the cusp of...
Okay, pretty crisp, still in sync.
So that said, what else are we going to do? We're going to do some nice, on our first pass, we're going to make sure we got all of our...
Okay, pretty crisp, nice, mouth still in line here.
Our right-hand view. And over to the left-hand view. Going that way. And then back forward. Then I'll just do a circle while I'm here at the stoplight again.
Okay, so pointing something out here. The sky was really not this color. This is a artifact of these super high wide angle lenses that are almost always kind of cool. I would never complain about that. Obviously, the sky is going to stay closer to more this one single color, but down the middle here, it creates that little darker artifact, and I'm fairly fond of that for some reason. That's awesome. Let's check this last bit of footage, see if we've dropped any frames.
See if I can not get hit by this dump truck behind me.
So it's a little behind there. I don't know if you caught that or not, but I don't know what I could do about it.
All right, so that's the semester, guys. Say my goodbyes while I'm weaving through the parking lot here.
Maybe I'm just looking too hard.
So, been a great semester.
Okay, for better or for worse, that concludes the making of my little final render of the my little final project here for the MGD 2085 course here. I've really enjoyed everything with you guys, and I hope you guys learned or had any kind of fun at all. I know I certainly had a ball, and I've learned an awful lot. So that said, thanks for all of your patience, all of your help, and hopefully we'll see you sometime in the future. Take care.